YouTube, Twitter. We're streaming, and we're here for 2 hours from 8 to 10 this morning, Eastern Standard Time. You just heard my recorded introduction. I'm Earl, by the way, and I'm in the studio with all the A-team. We've got Rick Kearney, the Certified Diagnostic Master Technician that can answer anything about your car. Diagnose it right on the air. Send us an audio clip or a video clip to YouTube. He monitors YouTube, Earl on Cars, Facebook, youtube.com/Earl on Cars. So he'll see your post right away. And sometimes we focus too heavily on buying and leasing. I say that because you drive your cars now longer than ever before. 200,000 or 300,000 miles is no big deal with today's modern vehicles, and you keep them sometimes 6, 7 years or longer. And it's a smart thing to do right now, by the way, because you'll hear me say this during the show. It's a terrible time to buy a new or used car. Don't buy a new car. Don't buy a used car unless you have to. You're going to pay thousands of dollars more than you will in a few months. Now, I've missed my forecast a little bit. I thought you could do better at the end of 2021. Well, it didn't happen. In 2022, this is my new forecast. By the end of 2022, you will save thousands. So make that old car run a little longer for you, and Rick can help you do that without getting ripped off at the car dealership or the independent mechanic. And he might even tell you you have something you don't even need to worry about. And hang on to that car and make it work. And then by January of 2023, December of 2022, there'll be some deals out there. The microchip shortage will be in better control. The manufacturing production will be geared up. You're going to have competition back in the marketplace, which you don't have today. See, the reason you're paying so much for your car today is because you have no competition among the dealers. Everybody's selling the cars for too much. At my dealership, and I have to say, I have to give you full transparency and disclosure, I'm a car dealer still. Stu Stewart is in the studio with me. He's a general manager of Earl Stewart Toyota. And we're in business as a car dealership. And every car we sell, we brag about it. We don't sell any cars over MSRP. I have to laugh or cry, depending on how I'm looking at it. Never in my history as a car dealer.
That feels wrong.
Yeah, right. It feels wrong.
I mean, selling MI, it's like it just feels...
After all these years, 1968. You know, we sold the car in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. Anytime we could sold the car in the past, and we sold for MSRP.
You doing a dance?
It was only because we only had one. It was a limited edition. It was, but we never went over MSRP because we thought that was just too much. And now every car we sell is an MSRP, and you're saying if you're not in the market, you say, oh, why are you telling me this? Well, I'm telling you this because we're thousands of dollars lower price than anybody else. The other dealers are charging thousands of dollars over MSRP, all of them, without exception. So don't buy a car today, folks, new or used. And I'm talking about new cars a lot, but used cars are the same way. Lease vehicles are not available like they used to be. That's another factor in supply and demand. People are keeping their lease cars. They're exercising their purchase options because it's a steal. And so that's a huge supply of raw material for used car lots and new and used car dealers, CarMax and independent used car lots. Off-lease cars, there aren't very many anymore. And because of the shortage there, people that don't buy new cars are trying to buy used. And I tell people that say, I have to buy a car and buy a used car. Well, before you have to buy that used car, be sure they're not charging you more than they would for a new car. I mean, it is a seller's market like I've never seen it before. So there we are. Now, going around the table, I talked about Rick. Keep that old car running. Rick will help you. We got Stu. You heard him a minute ago. Stu's the general manager of our dealership. So he's in the day-to-day, exactly what's going on category. His claim to fame on this show is he dispatches our weekly mystery shopper, undercover agent Lightning. And we dispatch her to even out of state, to the places that you recommend, car dealerships that need to be shopped. We shop as many as we can in the state of Florida, but we also do out of the state of Florida. And I believe Agent Lightning is out of town now, right?
She's leaving to go out of town, so
Yeah.
next week we'll have a long distance.
Yeah,
mystery
so
shop.
we'll have another long-distance shop. So this is probably the most interesting part of the show. It comes in the latter part, the last half hour of the show, between 9:30 and 10, that we vote on the dealership. Now remember, we name the dealership, we name names. We don't pull any punches on this show, folks. We name sales managers, we name salesmen. I mean, we're right out there, all the way out. And then you say to yourself, you think, why doesn't someone sue you? And I love it when people ask me that. I say, because you can't sue me because I'm telling the truth. You lawyers out there, back me up. The truth is a perfect defense against libel and slander. That's right. So if anybody caught me in a lie or if anybody caught me in a mistake, I'd be sued. Hey, we've been doing this nearly 20 years, not one lawsuit.
Got a letter once.
We got a letter, I got a threat. In fact, we probably had more than one threat, but every lawyer, every dealer's got a lawyer, and you better have a lawyer, and especially Napleton. We can get into that later. Napleton definitely needs lawyers, but they will tell you, hey, you sue the person, you're going to lose, and then you're going to have the negative PR. And if you get lucky and go to trial, you're really going to have a lot of PR. You don't want to be on court TV and have the truth come out, because that's exactly what you don't want to have. And of course, to my left is Nancy Stewart, my co-host. Get him some water, will you? I think Rick's going to keel over. And
I have some water,
and
Rick.
Nancy Stewart is our female advocate. She's also the person that founded the show with me many years ago. And we went from a half-hour show on a little station called Seaview to a 2-hour show today. And she has brought our female audience up from almost zero, in fact it was zero, up to about 50-50. And she has a very special offer she's going to tell you about right now to you first-time new females that might want to call the show. Okay, it's all yours.
Good morning, everyone. We have another exciting show ahead. But before I tell you what we have for the ladies, let me remind you that you can subscribe to the excuse me. Oh, I think we all have it. It's the wind. It's all of our allergies.
I hope it's the wind.
There you go. You never know. Okay, back to subscribing to Earl Stewart on Cars, the podcast, using any of the following podcast apps from your iPhone or your Android smartphone. You can apply to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Stitcher, that's Stitcher Radio, and the SoundCloud app. Earl's passing me something here. Oh.
I forgot to give out the telephone numbers and
Oh, you did?
and all that
Okay,
kind of
watch
stuff.
this.
Yeah.
You can have that back. Okay, I'm going to close my eyes. You can give us a call toll free at 877-960-9960. Or you can text us at 772-497-6530. I have that Greta Garbo kind of voice this morning. Can you hear me, folks?
Dusky.
I like that. I am husky.
No, dusky.
Springtime in South Florida.
Really? So at any rate, moving along here, ladies, $50 for the first 2 new lady callers. Give us a call. And, well, as I always encourage you every week and during the week when I speak to you or email you, you hold an important part of all of this. You're the big piece of the puzzle. Women represent a huge opportunity for every single auto dealer everywhere. Give us a call, 877-960-9960. And for you texters, you can 772, take advantage of that number, 772-497-6530. And Rick's right there with the YouTubes. So we're going to go straight to the phones, and we have John and Howard that have been holding. We're going to go straight to John from Palm City. Good morning, John.
Good morning to everyone. Earl mentioned MSRP. Today it's not only common, but it's a race, it seems like, to people that are paying how much are we going to pay above MSRP. And I'll give you an example. A car that's going to set a new record, it's coming out, 2023 Cadillac CT5V, Blackhawk. There's only 120 going to be made. Why 120? because that's the 120th anniversary of Cadillac, the formula of Cadillac. It's going to be a tremendous ceremony in Lansing Grand River plant where the car is made. All the big people are going to be there. I don't know who and politicians will be there, but number one and number two has already been committed. They're going to be numbered. They're a special edition. It's 6.2-liter engine, 668 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds. And this car, being that only 120 will be made, will set a record of above, I don't know what the MSRP, naturally at least 100,000 or plus. And the record will be set with people buying these cars that they have to have the special edition first, especially the early ones. But they will be numbered from number 1 to 120. And Earl will tell you, he talked about the past MSRP, which was rare, but not long ago, when the T-Bird came out and the Camaro came out, people were paying way above list. I know there was a Camaro dealer here in Stewart. He wanted $10,000 above when it first came out, and it goes from there on, and it gets carried away completely. And it's only the big people that brag. John Staluppi himself, when the Supra came out, he had to have the first one, and I think that at the time there was over 100,000. So I just want to mention that car. This will be set a record of above price of an MSRP car.
I think it was $2 million that John Staluppi paid for that Supra.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, 2 million.
That's
Yeah.
a little bit over sticker. I think it's stickered around 54,000. So.
Well, it just shows you how crazy the automobile world is getting. I mean, people have to have limited editions, and they have to fight each other how much above MSRP that they're going to pay. So it gets crazy. It gets out of hand.
For sure.
Absolutely insane.
Well, thank you, John. That's at least the good news now is the good thing about the MSRP, it's always been a measuring tool for the consumer. And if you shop and compare products, and you're shopping and comparing a car, the same thing today as it has always been, even before this whole crazy COVID thing. You measure the car you're buying with respect to how much you're paying with respect to MSRP. The only difference now is it used to be you were measuring how much below MSRP you'd pay. Now you're measuring how much over MSRP you'll pay. But it's still a measuring stick, and it's a good thing. When you're buying a car, you should always be sure that the MSRP Monroney label is on the car. Sometimes they're not. We shopped someone the other day. There was no Monroney label. It was in the glove compartment. I think that was Napleton.
Yeah.
So if you, that's a violation, federal violation. You must leave the MSRP attached to the vehicle, and literally the only person that's allowed to remove it is the consumer. In practice, you certainly can ask the dealer to remove it for you, so you don't have to bring a razor blade and a bottle of water when you buy your car, so get your sticker off. But yeah, MSRPs are still important. You just got to know which direction the dealers are charging, over or above.
And stay away from those dealers that don't display it.
Yes.
That's illegal since 1958.
Yes,
So
exactly.
it's a joke when they're not showing it to you, or it's in a glove compartment somewhere. It's against the federal law, but evidently they don't care about the law.
Exactly. You're right, unfortunately. It's not funny, but it's the fact. Well, John, thank you very much. We love your calls. You're probably our most faithful caller over the many, many years. And please call again next week. We look forward to it.
Thank you guys for being there.
Thank you. Always enlightening, John. Folks, talk about overpaying, and yeah, I don't need to go through the laundry list of things that are happening, in the auto industry. But you can do something about it. You can help do something about it, and just to stop all this trickery and all these illegal practices. Go to www.floridalawprotectingcarbuyers.com and let your voice be heard. Again, that phone number is 877-960-9960, and you can reach us a number of ways. You can text us at 772-497-6530, and you can also send the Spymaster General a text, and also Rick is over there, and Stu salutes us this morning.
The general.
And I salute you.
Little general.
Isn't it like this?
That's pretty good. think that's British.
Okay, enough humor. We're going to go back to the phones where Howard is waiting. Good morning, Howard.
Good morning. I hope you are all doing well on this beautiful windy day.
Yep.
Hey.
I have a question for Rick. Rick, what is it better when you buy a battery, a sealed battery or a battery that you have to put distilled water in?
Myself, just for the sake of being lazy, I'd rather have the maintenance-free sealed battery. They're designed in such a way that it helps recapture the fumes from the acid and let it condense back into a liquid back in the battery. So you don't have to worry about checking the fluid levels in your battery. It's just one less thing to worry about.
How often do you have to pull maintenance on that battery to check it if you have distilled water battery?
Usually it's recommended once a year at least to make sure you check the fluid and the water level in the battery.
Okay, what would cause the water level to go down?
Simple, plain old evaporation.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I think you answered my question, and thank you very much. One other question. When I drive in my car with my remote, and I have my son in it, he has his remote, the same remote, something happens and all kind of noises happen. You told me to take one remote and put aluminum foil on it. However, my son and his wife drive all the time. They have a Honda Rogue, a Nissan Rogue, and they have their remotes, and they have no problem. So why would I have a problem with the remote, and they don't have the problem where they have the two remotes in the car?
Might have sticky buttons on the one. You know, if the buttons are being depressed enough that it creates a signal being sent, then that can confuse the computer.
Oh, I understand. Okay. I think you answered my question. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Have a good day.
Thanks for the call, Howard.
Thanks, Howard.
Well, let me ask you a question back on the batteries. How much more does a sealed battery cost than a non-sealed?
They're usually pretty comparable in price. They're pretty close to the same.
So why does anybody buy anything but a sealed battery?
I couldn't tell you. Just why do folks buy stick shifts anymore when an automatic does everything for you? But I guess
Because it's fun to shift gears, but
Yeah.
Makes
it's
cool
not fun-
noises.
It's not fun to
Yeah.
look at your battery. I mean, anyway, okay, just a curiosity question.
Okay, well, any question is important.
That's absolutely-
877-960-9960. Or you can text us at 772-497-6530. Do you have the latest column? I seem to have misplaced mine.
Well,
I don't need it right now,
Oh,
but
good. Yeah.
while
a
you're
good one.
doing while you're doing that, I'm going to go to John, who's been holding in Green Acres. Thank you. Good morning, John.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
We're well, thank you.
I wanted to call and talk about the service department. I've been a big fan of yours. I've had Toyotas, and I've got a 2016 Corolla, and since then I've added a RAV4, and I always like to get the maintenance. I always come in and get maintenance whenever it's due. But this last time I had maintenance, something happened that kind of confused me and kind of aggravated me a little bit. After I had the maintenance done, a week later I got a letter and says, "Thank you for your service. You've taken the first step, and your car may need some additional maintenance." And I thought, why didn't it all get done at the first? I don't want to be coming back to the dealership again and spend another hour and a half for you to continue the maintenance.
I don't know.
I'll have to look into that. This is Stu. Typically, the only time there is ever any additional things suggested is if at the time you were there, if you decided to put something off, and let's say we recommended a service that you decided to wait later to do, we might send reminders saying, hey, don't forget there's something, you could do this, and sometimes we'll even offer a discount to give you, inspire you to come back. But if you when you come in for maintenance, we don't do a partial thing and invite you to come back later. But I'll have to check into that. Yeah, I don't know why you received something like that.
No, I don't either. I thought I want to get it all done at the same time.
Yeah, and that's what we want to do too.
Yeah, a bird in the hand.
Yeah, we want to get everything done while you're there.
Wise words.
I know that the service department is a big part of the dealership, but I don't want to keep coming back. Just I was there and I spent time. I don't want to come back again, and I love you, but I don't want to come back.
You don't love us that much.
Hey, John, could I ask you to do me a favor? Could you send me a copy of that mailer?
Yes, I will.
Okay, you can fax it. You want to fax it to me?
Why don't you give me I don't have a fax here, but I will do that.
Yeah, just give me a copy of it, because I want to be careful. Most dealers, including us, we use outside marketing services to market our different departments, including service and sales, used cars, and sometimes the marketing companies do things that we don't want them to do and we don't know about. So the only way I found out about them are from customers. So, yeah.
Even Toyota does things we don't want them to do.
Yeah, if you can give me a copy of that, I'd appreciate it.
Hey, one other thing about that also. Oh, I had the RAV4 serviced, and after that, I got another letter that says, "Come back in, and we will rotate your tires." If the tires needed rotated, I want them done when I'm there.
Exactly
when I have
right.
to come back.
Sounds to me like we got a marketing company that's out of control.
Yep.
So we need to.
Or there was an error. It's either a catastrophic conspiracy or a mistake was made.
Need to take a look at it. Yeah.
Well, give me the fax number, and I will see about getting those things.
Okay. Do you have a phone? You can just take a picture with your phone and text it to us.
My fax number is 561-658-0734.
Okay, I'll see about trying to get that done.
Hey, but do you have a smartphone with you right now?
Not right now, I'm sorry to say, but my wife has one, and I'll see about getting hers. And
sure.
And
either way, whatever's easiest for you.
Okay, will do.
All right.
Thank you, John.
Service is the
Thank you
best
so
part of
much.
the dealership.
Thank you.
That's right.
No, I like to bring it in and get it taken care of at one time, though. It seems to be the main thing.
Great.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
right.
Give us
Bye
a call, toll free at 877-960-9960. Don't forget, ladies, $50 for the first two new lady callers. I'm going to take and change gears here for a moment and remind everyone, if you didn't pick up the Florida Weekly or the Hometown News, you can go to Earl on Cars and you can pull up his latest column. Open letter to Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody. There it is right there, folks. Is that a great picture? It's a great, a lot of great information in this column, and a lot of things that will. Well,
I think that's the look that she gave when she saw the column.
Don't be judgmental.
Not. She looks like she's taking it very seriously.
That's a good point, Sue.
I feel a little guilty about picking that picture out because, but I notice, and anybody that reads, the political stuff going on, if you're reading the Wall Street Journal and you see a picture of a Democrat, it's usually an ugly picture, and if you're reading the New York Times and you see a picture of a Republican, it's usually like so. People, they always pick out whoever's side.
Yeah.
You can always tell,
and you can always
where the slant is by the beauty of the picture of the person they're running.
Right, like they have pictures of Donald Trump, and he looked like a bodybuilder, and
it's amazing, isn't it?
You Google like ugly this or angry looking so and so.
Let's see if we can get the worst picture
Is
ever.
Is that what you did? Did you search for bad picture?
Yeah, I did. I went on Google. And I Googled Ashley Moody images, and then I went through. I didn't Google ugly. I just Ashley Moody, and I went through hundreds of them, and I found the one that I thought would offend her the most.
I can't stop looking at it.
And there you go. That was the intent.
Right.
That was a good point that you made.
Yeah.
And she may be.
We want
She's
people to
just
slow
looking
down
at
when they're
this.
scrolling. scrolling and see that and then read it. Yeah.
She's looking at this and she's very serious and she's going to do something about it.
She's considering
We always
her
want to be
plans.
positive. Positive, positive, positive. Okay, folks, where was I going with this? I think we are going to go to Stu. He may have some text piled up. You don't have any YouTubes, Rick? Okay, we're going to go to Stu.
Yeah, we'll start off with Anne Marie's text. It
Oh,
looks
good
like
morning.
Do we have a call?
No, we're good.
Okay. Your face lit up, I guess. Nancy gets really
Anne
happy.
Marie.
Okay. It was for Anne Marie. My face lights up too. Good morning. Sad news for the local racing community. After 57 years, the Palm Beach International
60.
Raceway, after 60 years,
60 years.
formerly known as Moroso Motorsports Park, out west of Jupiter, Florida, is having a last lap celebration to mark their last day today, April 23rd, 2022. Starting at 11 a.m., there will be a parade of cars, drag races, music, food, and a trip down memory lane. Spectator tickets for adults are $10. Kids 12 and under are free. The property has been sold to a developer who is trying to get approval to turn the site into a 2 million square foot warehouse space. The imminent demise of this racing facility prompts the question, have you ever taken a car out to that raceway to see what it could do? And that's from Anne Marie, and the answer is yes. And I know Rick has. I remember years ago you raced an XB, a Scion XB out there.
I will not admit to that.
And then Earl
Yes.
came this close to taking the Tesla out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
But Nancy stopped that.
Anne Marie, we're on the same wavelength. We're reading the same thing, and it's amazing. After 60 years out there, can you believe it? How time has changed, and that's the way it goes. Anyway, I think I smell. Let me see. I'm gonna look in my crystal ball. Amazon? Maybe. We don't have enough facilities for Amazon. Thanks for the text, Anne Marie. We appreciate your input every Saturday
I
morning.
used to go out there and get by the track. I'd get a pass view right up against the wall to shoot photos of the cars going by.
Yeah. And Earl, are you telling me you've never been out there to race?
No, I've been out there not to race. I've been out there to watch the races.
Yeah. But I'm surprised you haven't been out there to race.
He races on the motorways of Florida.
This is true. I forgot. With me in the car.
highways and byways.
Let's move right along here.
All right. I know he doesn't want to admit to a crime. This is from Steve in New Jersey, who's a longtime texter, sometimes caller. Another state, Maryland, has fined a new car dealer for bogus fees. It's in Maryland, and he sent a link to the Jalopnik article. It's the Attorney General of Maryland is charging Coons Kia for bogus fees, $1 million. And I had just heard of that just now. Thank you, Steve. So who knows? Maybe there's a movement underway. We don't know yet.
And who is that? Coons Kia?
Coons Kia, and I know that dealer. That name Coons, Koons, sounds very familiar. I think
I went to dealer management school with I think Jeff Coons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
what's
that's
that
how I
so?
That's a family. They've been in business since the 60s.
At least, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Why am I so familiar with that? Have we talked about that on the show?
I'm not sure. Do you know if they have dealerships around here?
Yeah, they had a Ford dealership in
Coons Ford.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
That's what it sounds familiar.
Okay.
Okay. Wow. That's great. And we have another one here. Says, who sent this? I don't have a name. I heard something this week on a YouTube video that Toyota might be increasing MSRPs between 700 to 1,000 pretty soon. Have you heard anything about that? I think this might be a terrible time to buy a used car, but a good time to buy a new one. Yes, Toyota just announced an increase of MSRPs across the board, and they range anywhere from $250 on the less expensive cars up to $700 on the more expensive cars, and those actually go in effect on 2022 models starting in May. The ones that get built will have the higher MSRP starting just next week.
And remember, folks, all the manufacturers are increasing their prices. When they increase MSRP, it becomes news like it just did here. But the easiest way to increase profits to the manufacturers is to decrease incentives to you and the dealers. And the dealer incentives and the customer incentives are huge. So You don't read about it though. You have to subscribe to Automotive News. But when they go MSRP, because it's federally mandated law that it be displayed, it makes the front pages. So you might say Toyota increased this car by $1,000 MSRP. They probably already increased it last week by knocking off $1,000 incentive to the dealer,
Which they did,
or a $2,000 incentive to the customer. So, folks, this is a terrible time. I know I'm a broken record. Don't buy a new car today. Don't buy a used car today. The manufacturers are getting rich. The dealers are getting richer, and you're getting poor. So don't play the game. Wait till supply and demand kicks in again. That's a law. You can't get around supply and demand, and it will sooner or later catch up. And then the dealers will be cutting each other's throats again. They'll be slashing prices, lying, cheating, and stealing. Bait and switch advertising, unfortunately, goes along with all that. But the bottom line is, when that happens, the educated consumer can get a really good buy. Now, if you're going to get slam dunked, if you're going to be taken advantage of, and you don't watch Earl on cars, if you don't do your homework, you'll still be taken advantage of. But the average dealer 5 years ago was breaking even or making a few bucks or losing a few bucks in the new car department. Today, they're getting rich in the new car department. So we'll be back to where they're struggling again if you can just wait and bear with it. And I'm forecasting the end of this year.
Yeah, and that's good advice, Earl. And Earl also wrote a column on that subject that he just covered. And you can go to Earl on Cars and just learn, about taking care of your old car and hang on to it forever. The amount of miles that you can put on a vehicle today is incredible. So you're sitting on a gold mine. We're going to welcome back Julie, who's called us before, and she calls us from West Palm Beach. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning. I have a question I don't think I've heard addressed before. It's kind of an unusual question. I have a friend who has an Impala. About a month ago, she went on vacation. The night before, she goes out and has a steak dinner, inadvertently leaves the doggy bag in the car for her 2 weeks of vacation.
Oh, God.
She comes back, and there's a major roach infestation.
Oh, God.
Yes. Somebody said you should use a fogger, but she was afraid it would ruin the upholstery and that it might cause a fire in the car. So then she ended up getting roach motels, lovely, and she thought there were just a few roaches, but they would just fill up as soon as she put them down. Two questions. How did they get into her car? Her car doors, if her doors are shut and her windows are up. And have you had anybody with this problem before? How did they get rid of them?
Well, first of all, I'd like to excuse myself from this studio to go have the Willie's attack because I'm just completely. Roaches can get anything. I don't like. They can probably get into a sealed jar. They can squeeze their bodies into
amazing
anything.
creatures.
But we've used bombs in our detail department for ants and other bug infestations on the cars, and we haven't had a fire issue. I mean, that sounds like an issue. Rick's got something.
The best recommendation that I have, because I parked my pickup under a tree one time and wound up filled with ants, little ants.
Oh, goodness.
And the problem is that the cabs of a vehicle are not sealed airtight. There's plenty of areas where any insect, even snakes and rats and mice, can get in and out of the cars quite easily. Raid dry smoke fumigators. It's basically, it comes in a little plastic cup. You peel off the foil, you put about a 1/4 inch of water in it, and drop the canister back into that plastic cup and set it in the car. Put like 2 of them in the cab portion of the car, the front and back seat, and 1 in the trunk. They do a smoke that will literally fill the entire car, and it'll almost look like the car's on fire. The best part is that there's no wet residue that is going to affect any of the fabric or adhesives or anything like that. It will not affect the electronics, and it will kill all the insects. I've done it on my own vehicle and had to do it on a couple family members' vehicles, and I can tell you for a fact it works perfectly. It will destroy insects.
Because she was wondering if, when she was using the roach motels, if it was actually insects from outside were drawn more to her car because of the smell in the roach motel.
Well, the problem is that when the bugs get in underneath the carpet and everything, the fumigators don't always get, the spray, they don't get down into those little nooks and crannies, but the dry smoke will.
Right.
And you'll want to do it quickly before they start laying eggs or anything that might let
Right.
them spread, get future generations.
Yeah, I'll have to tell her because she said the roach motels, they would be like absolutely full. You couldn't see the bottom of them. There were so many roaches in there.
Yep.
Okay, thanks, Rick. That's a
goodness.
perfect solution.
All right.
Thank you very much
Yeah,
for the
thank
call.
you so
Yeah.
much, Julie.
Thank you.
And thanks for
Bye-bye.
staying in touch with us.
Or you could sell your car
Have a great weekend.
and say goodbye
Ace.
to it.
Thank you.
You're
Bye-bye.
welcome, Julie. Hope to hear from you again. 877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530. Now back to Stu.
Okay, we have another text here. Interesting question. What do you think of the idea of using your smartphone to record the conversations and negotiations in the dealership, or the conversations you have on the phone over the phone with the dealership? And that's depends on your state law, because I know recording laws vary by state. In our state, we can't do that in our mystery shops because you have to allow the person being recorded. You have to alert them know they're being recorded. So that would kind of screw up the mystery shop. We did try it once. We had a clever scheme with a GoPro camera that we put on the head of a 5-year-old child
Yeah.
who accompanied the mystery shopper, and the shopper explained it was a birthday present that the kid got, and he won't take it off, and let them, you're being recorded, and then
Unfortunately, the kid kept staring at the floor.
unfortunately, the kid was a very, very active kid, and he was looking
that
all over.
Jax?
He was looking everywhere but what was happening during the sales. It was useless footage. But yeah, check if you're going to do that. If you're going to check the laws of your state, because you don't want to commit a crime while you're trying to get a good deal. Okay, this is from Bob. He says, "Good morning. Will the start-stop feature on the Camrys that also have auto climate control, if it's always left on with the engine, always be running due to the auto climate setting?" That sounds like a question for Rick.
No.
Okay.
Once it reaches core temperature, it'll shut the engine off, and the newer compressors are being run electronically, which means you don't need a belt drive for the compressor on some of the cars like the hybrids.
Okay. I'm going to jump over to anonymous feedback, which just logged me out because I've been there for a while, but take me 1 second, as I know some stuff came in. This is from last week, but we didn't get to it. Actually, I think we did get to that one. Here we go. Regarding your mystery shop of Wallace Cadillac, as 99% of dealerships are doing now, it's just supply and demand. I went to a dealership, gave them the car I want, plus my name and number. When the supply and demand extra dollar amount, $5,000, isn't in effect anymore, to give me a call, and I'll buy. I really don't blame the dealers. FYI, official numbers from Automotive News for all 10 Wallace dealerships shows that combining service, parts, used cars, and finance departments revenue, not profit, but money collected, those are sales dollars, was $593 million. That's a lot of money. But then Wallace has real estate taxes, salaries, insurance, upkeep, inventory, utilities, yada, yada. So the profit might not be so great than 10 McDonald's or auto parts store chain does in 1 year. Very interesting analysis. Yeah, I'm sure Bill Wallace is making a ton of money. And
I read that article, and it's interesting. We should go back and take a look at that. In fact, you can do it. The sales figures are available. I mean, I think every dealership, I would think Florida would have the sales figures for companies because they have to pay sales tax.
Yeah.
So if you have the total sales of a car dealership, you can apply the rule of thumb. The old rule of thumb used to be 2 or 3% net profit on total sales. So if you use a 3% on Wallace, I did that. It turns out to be a little bit over $1 million net profit per dealership for the Bill Wallace Auto Group. And but it's just interesting. I thought the guy was,
which fits in what the size of their stores, it
yeah,
seems like.
yeah. But the net profit on sales is very low at car dealerships. At least it was until now. It was the only thing lower were supermarkets, and that's probably changed too. So rules of thumb during this COVID crazy 2 or 3 year period don't apply. But when we get back to normal, if you ever want to know how much net profit a car dealer's making, just take his total sales and take 2 or 3% of it, and that's what he's putting
Taking
in his
home.
pocket. Yeah, putting in his pocket.
After everybody's paid.
Yeah.
Another anonymous feedback. Why do rich old car dealer owners like Bill Wallace have to rip people off? Aren't they rich enough?
I'm a rich old car dealer, and I don't I don't rip people off. I think what it is I think that car dealers that are older and that have been successful, I think they can become less and less involved with the dealerships, and they don't pay attention. And you created a company that is based on volume, profit, and commission. Everybody in the car dealership works on commission. So when you don't watch the store and you go out on your yacht or you go fly somewhere on your private jet or you go to your skiing lodge in Vail or your hunting lodge in Montana, hello, Chuck Schumacher.
Earl right now is running through all of like the expensive properties of people he knows.
So
or the private island.
That's
and,
what I'm doing. This is you want reality, you want the truth. This is the truth. And
the castle in Monaco.
Even if you had a honest car dealer that had been very successful, now he's enjoying life. He's at the beach. He's doing something else, and when the cat's away, the mice will play. And when you have everybody in your company paid on commission, what are you going to do? I mean, you're going to push sales any way you can. You send out phony service mailers. You send out, you mislead people about having cars in stock when you don't really have cars in stock. And you charge them thousands of dollars over MSRP. It's easy to get away with hosing the customer. And when the cat's away, the mice will play.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are they really all doing that? I think they're sitting around getting inebriated, and they don't know what the hell's going on.
No, same thing.
If you want the truth.
Some people like to ski, some people like to drink.
They're getting inebriated at their ski lodge.
Fun.
They're drinking Pappy Van Winkle as they're taking down an African elephant.
I mean, seriously, we attribute a lot of this car dealer activity to it being evil and mean and trying to take advantage. A lot of it is just stupidity or
apathy.
Apathy is a much better word. Apathy. They're not around. They don't care. And hey, you know, they get that big check in the mail, or they wired to their account in Zurich or wherever it goes. They get, you know, Bill Wallace is looking at, you know, $12 million a year pop into his account. Why should he worry about how they made it? I mean, it's not in the papers. Ashley Moody is not suing any of his dealers. The regulators aren't calling him and say your dealerships are doing the wrong thing. So he's fat and happy and he's getting his check every week. It's apathy. That's a real answer.
All right, here's another anonymous feedback. This is really good to hear. Good morning. I'm not sure if you heard, Earl Stewart Toyota was mentioned in a couple of videos by Kevin Hunter, the homework guy. He mentioned a couple of dealers not charging over MSRP. It was part 2 and 3 of the video series, so I'll be looking that up. Yeah, I think we've had listeners recommend the Kevin Hunter videos before, so that's kind of cool that we've been discovered.
Fabulous.
Finally.
Right. Hey, we're doing the right thing. All right, we are all caught up currently with Tex.
Okay, let me mention that number again. And for you ladies who haven't heard, $50 for the first 2 new lady callers. And you can take advantage of that this morning by calling 877-960-9960. And for everyone else, you can text us at 772-497-6530. Don't forget youranonymousfeedback.com. And Rick, do you have any YouTubes for us?
I do have one interesting one here. This is from our buddy Donovan.
Oh, hi, Donovan.
He says, last week you had a caller ask if an electric car could charge another electric car. And I had said, no, I didn't think it could. However, he says, this is actually not correct. Nothing stops an EV from charging anything. It's all in the software for the direction power flows. He says, the new Hyundai Ioniq 5 and the Kia EV6 have this feature. It comes with an adapter that turns the EV charging plug into a regular wall outlet, which allows you to plug in another EV to charge. The new Ford F-150 Lightning will have this feature also, and has vehicle to home feature that allows you to power your house for up to 3 days from the Ford F-150. Several power utilities are also testing vehicle to grid, which will allow your EV to send electricity back to the grid at peak times and get credit for it. It's really amazing what can be done with the power sitting in the giant battery in an EV.
Well, thank you, Donovan. It's amazing, like Anne Marie and Donovan, we got some really smart people out there, and we literally learn things from our customers, our customers, from our listeners. So please call us, and 877-960-9960, and the youranonymousfeedback.com is dropping off. We need to get you back on that. You remain totally anonymous, and all you have to do is go to this URL on the web, youranonymousfeedback.com, and everything you tell us is strictly off the record. We don't know who you are. We don't know where you are. We don't know why you said it. All we know is what you said, and we will not censor it other than for profanity and vulgarity and that kind of thing.
Or brevity.
Yeah, right. We're not going to be critical. We'll take constructive criticism, or for that matter, a destructive criticism.
Hey, so I just looked up the Kevin Hunter video that we just got the text on.
Oh, cool.
And it is really cool. I'm going to share these videos on Earl on Cars. They are going through and listing dealers all over the country that are not charging over MSRP. And yes, we came up in there, and I want to thank Ernesto and Tom, who I believe are fans of the show. They showed their text messages to Kevin Hunter, letting them know that we're doing. So I really appreciate our listeners putting us out there. But if you don't care about Toyotas, they're listing all sorts of dealers up here. And I'm looking, there's a Toyota dealership in Oakwood, Georgia, called Milton Martin Toyota. Can't remember the name of the GM. I know the general manager there. They're not charging over MSRP. They're about 40 miles north of Atlanta. So we'll identify these dealers out there who are not charging over MSRP. There's not going to be a lot of them, but there are some.
Yeah, I went to TQAM, Toyota Quality Executive with Milton Martin. I think the son. I'm not sure. Well, it might have been Milton Martin.
Yeah.
But a really good dealership. They're very, very honorable.
Cutting edge, yeah.
Yeah, they are.
That's great. So stand by. If you want to look for it now, just search, go to YouTube and search for Kevin Hunter, the homework guy, and you'll find the video like I did. But I'm going to post it. So that's really cool.
You know, let me jump back on Donovan's comment, because automotive news was full of stuff I didn't know, this current issue about electric vehicles. And here's something that Rick would be interested in. Is that the voltage on electric vehicles typically has been 400 volts. But they've come up now, and a few other manufacturers are going to 800 volts. And when you go to 800 volts, you get more amperage, and therefore you can charge your cars a lot faster. And it just shows the rapidity of the trend in technology and what's happening with electric vehicles. Another thing is really cool is there's a Vietnamese electric manufacturer. I mean, you know, for us old guys, Vietnam.
Called the Pho.
Yeah, here we are. Here we are. It's like Japan. I mean, you know, here we are. We're at war, and now they're our buddies, and they build great cars. Now Vietnam is building a great car, and they came up with a ability. It was on charging. Let me see if I can find my notes here. It's called VinFast. Is the name of the Vietnamese car. VIN, V-I-N, and I thought VIN stood for Vehicle Identification Number, but it stands for Vietnamese. VinFast, Vietnamese, and what they're doing now is they're building cars, but you don't get the battery. They build the electric car, and they lease you the battery. And they'll lease you a battery, get this, at $35 a month. Now, the cool thing about that is it ain't bad.
That's the most expensive part of the car.
Yeah, and what you have is you're going to lease the battery, but they're going to upgrade the battery, and you'll be able to upgrade when they go to a better battery, and you'll just keep the car.
That's
and you don't have to scrap the car or trade the car in.
Or worry about it going bad in the future. Yeah, wow.
So it just, I mean, the technology. They have two models of VinFast. The low price is $35 a month for the battery. The other one's $44 a month, and that's for low mileage. And after that, after 310 miles per month, they charge you 11 cents a mile. So it's a little more expensive. but it's still.
What's
See,
the
like, to me, as a electric vehicle driver, I drive a Tesla. I can't keep thinking about the fact that in 3 years the battery in that Tesla is going to be obsolete, and it's the most expensive part of the car. But if I was leasing it, 36 months lease.
Brilliant. I mean, it's
Oh,
brilliant.
it's 36 months?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I don't, whatever.
So it's not just going to be technological innovations. It's going to be innovations like this, like
Yeah.
the batteries, the swapping out the batteries, the leasing the battery.
Yeah, they take
we
care of
haven't
the
even imagined
maintenance.
Stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, a person that drives 1,000 miles a month, which is about average,
Yeah.
would pay approximately $100 a month
Yeah.
if they drove 1,000 miles a month. That for
That's average driving.
battery.
Average driving. Yeah.
yeah, and then just whatever it cost you for charging it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But still, that's
That's it. And sooner or later, you're going to see a melding of a lot of these things. I love the 800 volts. I didn't even know about that. But to be able to charge a car, your battery twice as fast because you have higher voltage, and there's a lot of other advantages too. So every day there's a breakthrough of some kind in this whole electric revolution. So it's really getting kind of fun to talk about. Still, remember, I think we're still talking about it too much because less than 1% of all the vehicles in the world are electric. And it's going to take a long time before that changes.
I just got some information here from Donovan. He says Hyundai, Kia, Porsche, and Audi all use 800 volts.
Yep.
Lucid is the company that's out of Arizona is using 900 volts.
And Jonathan, I heard that it's really not 900, but they say 900, but that's technical. I don't know. But 8 or 900 doesn't make any difference. But yeah, these guys are jumping. They jumped ahead on this, I think, unless there's a downside. I have to ask Elon Musk about that. Why aren't his batteries 900, 800 volts?
Well, he also goes on to say the higher the voltage, the less heat that happens when charging.
Yeah.
So in theory, the faster you can charge. But the CCS charging standard, I'm not sure what the CCS stands for. Donovan, if you could, give me a definition on that CCS. He says it's limited to 500 amps, so it can only go so fast. Which I can understand. You'd have to have some sort of a limiter on the charging rate.
You better be careful. I'm going to replace you with Donovan on the show.
Well,
This guy's very sharp.
he's my go-to for electric right now. He's coming
so
in
you're
big
really
on
not
the
very
electric.
smart. You've been using Donovan the whole
I've got
time.
backup.
He's been with us for quite a while.
He's my electric Google.
Yeah, Electric Google.
Electric Google.
I'm Earl's
Sounds like a
Googleette.
dance.
Google that.
You hear that? I'm Earl's Googleette.
I Google that.
Yeah, he gave me a nickname the other morning. Back to EVs, would everyone agree that California is on the cutting edge as far as their proposal calls for electric vehicles? They're going to make up 70% of the new vehicle sales for 2030. Do you think they'll be ahead of everyone? Almost everyone.
It all depends on how you look at it. They certainly are the trendsetter. I mean, I'll say that. Yeah.
I agree with that. 877-960-9960. Give us a call, folks. Ladies, first 2 female callers, $50 for you. I know you can use it with everything that's going on. Our text number is 772-497-6530. And don't forget, youranonymousfeedback.com. Rick, do you have any more YouTubes over there?
Just that Donovan does say that CCS is the plug that every car uses that is not a Tesla. I guess that's the name they're using now for a non-Tesla charging connector.
Yeah, I heard that the Tesla is there's a little tap dancing with Elon. He was going to stop including that adapter that you get for the Tesla charger that you use if you're using a non-Tesla charging thing. And then he says you'd order it with the car for $400, and then there was a big outcry saying if you're charging $120,000 for a car, why are you nickel and diming people for a $400 piece? So now he's going to make it easy to order, and he's lowered the price to $200.
Yeah.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do. But the impressive thing about that was a CEO of the most valuable car company in the world who got customer feedback and instantly changed his policy just by listening to Twitter. So that's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, if we don't have any texts or YouTubes,
We
I've
do.
got some.
I got one.
Oh, good. Let's do it.
It was a follow-up on a text we got earlier about the recording conversations. He says, going back to my previous text about using a smartphone to record conversations, I was thinking that when you started the conversation, you would tell the dealership person that you were recording the conversation, and you're doing this to make sure that you're being dealt with honestly, and that if you believe that the dealership has told you something illegal, the conversation will be forwarded to the state attorney general. I think that's not violating any laws in any state, as long as you inform the person that you're recording them. And maybe tone it down, maybe not saying in case something illegal, just to make sure that we're all on the same page and that we're clear on everything that was discussed. And if they have a problem with it, you might have an indication that you're at the wrong dealership.
Well, I think that the negative of that is we would never get normal behavior.
Yeah.
Once we said that, we wouldn't get the real.
I think maybe he's as a real customer.
Yeah.
That's what he's
I think it's a
suggesting.
great idea for a real customer. In fact, I wouldn't even record the conversation. I would just tell the
It might be recorded.
salesperson that I am recording it, and if you're holding it in your purse or you pat your pocket back like this, I'm recording this. Unless you have an objection to it, I'd like to record this conversation. I think they would probably moderate their predatory activity so they didn't go to jail. But that's interesting. I love you callers and texters. And I mean, who was that texter?
I don't think so. There's a
Anonymous?
name on it. I could probably scroll. Oh, no, it's Richard from Minnesota.
Richard from Minnesota. Great idea. I mean, and Donovan and Richard, I love you texters and callers. Wow.
Don't forget Anne Marie.
And Anne Marie, I mean, she's the, what do you call, the grand poobah of all
Grand
texters.
Poobah.
She's the leader of the pack.
Yes, she is. I kick that's the first text I read.
Yeah.
She puts a lot of thought into it.
She
And
opens up the show.
exactly. It's actually really good content for the
As
show
she should.
from a entertainment standpoint.
I'm going to ask the insiders here, auto insiders, in this. How many used cars would you guess CarMax bought from customers over the curb, we say, in the last 90 days?
Nationwide,
Yeah.
1 million.
Oh,
I always overbid.
324,000.
That's a reasonable, and I would have guessed somewhere in the hundreds of thousands.
It's amazing. It got my attention, and it makes me realize how important it is for you folks that are thinking about selling a used car or trading a used car to get bids. And CarMax is a great source because they do pay real money. They also won't pay the real money if they don't want to buy the car, but they'll still give you a bid. So you better hope that CarMax would like to have your car. If they'd like to have your car, they will pay you really good money for it. And you can also try Carvana. Here's another little tidbit of Carvana. Carvana lost money. Their profit went down. They were always losing money, but they lost less or more last quarter.
It was bad. It was worse for them.
Yeah, it was worse. And so they're starting to feel the pain a little bit, and they're having to go and sell more stock. So Carvana's a little nervous. They're an IPO. It's a little shaky right now, but for a while there, they were buying probably and paying too much for cars, and they were number one on our recommended list. Always go to Carvana. I still say go to Carvana, but be a little leery now because they are starting to get financially
We still use them
unstable.
as a resource
Yeah.
in pricing cars.
And we buyanycar.com, another source. Shop it. If you got a Honda, go to 3 or 4 Honda used car lots. Don't ever go to a car dealer and say, here's my car, what will you give me for it? He gives you a price, and you say, okay. If you do that, it's just like him adding another $3,000 to the price of the new car. They always try to bring your used car in, your trade-in, for less money. And if they know you're shopping, if you just do this, when you go and say, now, you tell me what you'll allow me for a trade-in. I'm going to CarMax, I'm going to Carvana, I'm going to WeBuyTheCar.com, and then if you have the higher price, I will trade it in. So you have to let them know you're going to shop and compare the price to used cars. But I was amazed when I saw that CarMax bought that many cars. That's a lot of cars. I know it's a nationwide figure, but 324,000 vehicles in the fourth quarter. That's more than they'd ever bought before, as a matter of fact.
The other cool thing you can do if you don't really need the new car that you just bought, you take it to CarMax or call Carvana and make a nice tidy profit. As we've seen, we've had a listener on the show buy a new RAV4 from us and drive down the street to CarMax and made $5,000.
That's arbitrage. They call it arbitrage.
Yeah.
And
Have fun with it.
that probably
Make a little money.
Probably a whole new industry out there. A used car arbitrage expert. I mean, moving in. Maybe we got to start that.
All right, we'll call it Earl's
Flip it.
Arbitrage.
Earl's arbitrage. Yeah.
Flip it.
I got a text.
Flip it. Flip
Okay.
that rev.
All right, this is a text. I think it came from somebody who texted us last week. Says, is there a point in a tire's life that will need rebalancing after having it balanced after buying it brand new? Also, does it matter if the tire technician put the weight on the front side or the back side of the tire? Please give Rick the floor so he answers my question, and don't digress like you guys did last week talking about how you guys used to use the lead weight to make toy men and fishing line sinkers and such. All right, we won't talk about that.
I
Rick,
think I started that. Didn't
you
I?
did. Have the floor, Rick.
Okay. My way of saying it is, if your tires are out of balance, you'll notice it when you're traveling between speeds of about 50 to 65 to 70 miles an hour, highway speeds on a smooth road. If you start to feel a shake in the car or in the steering wheel.
His question was, after you have your tire balanced,
Right.
later on, do you have to have it balanced again?
Right. That's what I'll get it. Honest.
Is the answer yes or no?
Well, yes, they do, because your
Okay.
tires can become out of balance.
That's what I thought.
But the way you know
Oh,
that
yeah.
it's time for a balance is if you're traveling at those highway speeds and you start to feel that little bit of shimmy or shake
Yeah.
when you're just cruising along at that slow speed. Now, to make sure that it's not some other thing causing that vibration,
What causes the car to go out of balance? It's been balanced. You haven't, assuming you haven't hit a bridge or something like that.
well, as the rubber begins to wear off the tire a little bit
Right.
and you lose a thin layer, it actually can change the weights
Yeah.
of the tire
Yeah.
and make it just a little bit out.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, as much as a half an ounce of weight
Yeah.
can make a tire shimmy at those speeds, because it creates a harmonic balance where it will bounce.
Yeah.
So if you speed up to around 70
Yeah.
and then coast back down, you'll feel that shake start in, and then it will smooth out again as you get slower.
Okay.
And that's that harmonic.
And other types of shakes won't do that.
Right.
Okay.
So at that point, you should say, okay, I want to have my tires balanced. Now, on the old-fashioned steel wheels that are just those stamped steel wheels, we'll generally put a clamp-on weight on the inside or outside, whichever place the computerized machine tells us that weight needs to be to get that wheel in balance. If it's an alloy wheel, the fancy aluminum alloy wheels,
Like most cars now.
we'll use a clamp-on weight on the inside if that can be done, or if not, we'll use those stick-on adhesive weights in order to keep the wheels looking nice and not have to,
It's like
scratch up your wheel
hidden out
by
of the way.
pounding those on. Right, they hide them away. The only drawback with the stick-on weights is that sometimes they can fall off later on.
You're putting me to sleep, Rick.
This
It's
this
a
texter really
fascinating
wants to know
story.
about
Very
the,
fascinating.
yeah. Well, now I understand.
And that's it in a nutshell.
Honestly, I used to wonder, like, if you have a vibration, how do you know if it's some other cause, a dent in your wheel or something like that? But when you slow down, once you get a different frequency, I got it.
Yeah.
I hope our texter has it too. And we're all caught up.
Okay, let me mention something else here about. A long time ago, I predicted this. I love it when I'm right about things. I guess everybody knows that Honda and General Motors are joining together to build electric vehicles, which basically means, I mean, did you ever think that Honda and GM would be one company? Because eventually all vehicles will be EVs, and there will be no longer a Honda and a GM, but Honda and GM will be a team building EVs.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I didn't either. And what we're going to see is a huge consolidation worldwide, because it's so radical.
Like we did with tech, and as techs acquired each other, and
Yeah. So I guess it's too soon to start worrying about this, but when you're buying a car from a particular company, a manufacturer, you should ask yourself, are they going to be around in 10 years? I mean, because you could keep your car today 10 years easily.
Yeah.
And if the car's not, I mean, you folks that bought Oldsmobiles and Pontiacs.
Sorry about that.
You feel me?
Right.
We're watching
Saturns.
We're watching this TV series called Startup, and there's a lot of that's an expression. I have certain expressions.
You like that?
Yeah.
Yo, dog.
You sound very hip.
Feel me, dog? You feel me, dog?
Yeah, bro.
Okay.
Yo,
All right, bro.
dog.
Hey, listen, bro.
That is something to think about. In the past, who would have thought, should I buy a car from Fiat because Fiat might not be around when I want to trade my car in? And you can imagine what happened to Oldsmobile and Pontiac when, you know, I mean,
That's why I was laughing when this lunatic was weaving in and out of traffic in a little Fiat, and I just laughed at the future of his car manufacturer.
I can easily see 3 manufacturers total in the world in 20 years. I mean, I'll jump up. I won't be here in 20 years, so
Toyota, Honda.
I can't say I was wrong.
Honda, GM.
No, it'll be
Jim Honda.
They'll be crazy names. Waymo. I mean,
Could be,
yeah. I mean, it's just Google is.
Apple's going to have a car.
There you go. I mean, you probably. I think you just hit it. It'll be Apple and Google and maybe one other, Tesla.
Yeah.
Apple, Google, and Tesla.
I heard Apple and Toyota were talking. I got my fingers crossed for that one.
Yeah, it's got to be consolidation, and the whole landscape will be different. It's exciting.
I think it's going to be the dark horse, the Atari.
I will buy that one.
Yeah.
Takes me back.
Okay. Okay, please call the show because we're starting to babble incoherently now, and,
Yeah, but
including me.
Most importantly, and to your mention of not being here in 20 years, you'll be here, and you'll be in a different form.
I'm gonna freeze my brain.
So heads up, everybody.
Oh, I got something.
He'll be part of the solution.
Here's another very important thing that I came across in automotive news. Suspicious auto loans are soaring.
That's the one I'm looking at.
And suspicious auto loans are simply you go into a car dealership to buy a car, and you shouldn't, but you do, and you got to finance it, but your credit's bad, marginal, you have no credit, but they sell you a car anyway, and you get financed, and you're happy. Well, guess what? They phonied up your credit application. They lied to the lender. They violated a federal crime. And this practice by car dealers has always been rampant. Mm-hmm. And
you're complicit because you signed the credit app.
Exactly. I mean, if you sign a credit application, you're guilty, and you've violated federal laws. 260% increase. Straw borrower means that you came in to buy a car, but they used somebody else's credit and maybe even put somebody else on the credit application, and you're liable. And then when they discover it, your car's going to be repossessed. So if you are one of those folks out there, and a lot of us out there have issues with credit, particularly today with inflation and a lot of other things, be real careful. And when that credit application is passed to you to sign, read it carefully, be sure the information is accurate, and if they don't give it to you to sign, run, because they signed your signature. And that happens. It's happening. Remember, as I said earlier in the show, why do car dealers lie, cheat, and steal? Because they can, and because they can get away with it, and they are paid on commission.
Yeah, we talked about that.
If I was a dictator and I could change all the rules of the retail car business, I would make commissions illegal. And I'd say everybody's paid on salary, and that's it. It would cure a huge amount of temptation and crime in the auto industry, or for that matter, all industries. But that ain't gonna happen.com.
Ain't gonna happen.com, bro.
And I feel you, dog.
I feel you too.
Hey, to put things in perspective, let's take a look at Point Predictive's fraud team and what they found. Speaking of what Earl was talking about, the 260% increase, seeking a combined, over $309 million. Whew, that's a lot of fraud. Okay, folks, we're waiting to hear from you. And we have a mystery shopping report coming up. It's going to be fascinating. And Stu has some texts.
Yeah, we have some really interesting anonymous feedback that are coming in. First question says, if you're making so much extra money in profit, how are you giving back to your employees who help make all that money for you? And that's an excellent question. And I can say that we have increased wages in every department, from hourly wage employees significantly to the commission employees, particularly the salespeople who our salespeople aren't paid a percentage of the profit, which is a good thing, but it didn't work out for them when we were selling less cars and making more money. So we increased the flat, we call it a flat commission. It's just a payment for selling a car significantly to make up for that. Our hourly employees, I don't think we have anybody under $15 an hour now. We've raised all that up, and that's in compliance with rising wages in our area to be competitive. Hiring people is important, but also because we recognize that we faced a windfall, and we are sharing.
And to address the problem, the question broadly, we're one of the few car dealerships that doesn't pay a percent of the profit when we sell a car. Virtually every other dealership does. So if you're getting 25% of the profit, which is what the standard commission is, and a car dealership is selling cars at $5,000 every sticker, the salespeople are also retiring soon because they're making a ton of money. So the average commission salesperson today is making a whole lot of money. And the car dealership itself, the dealer's making a whole lot of money. We had to change our pay plan because we were paying based on volume and not on profit, because we set the profit, and therefore we had to raise our compensation. And most car dealerships, they probably have the reverse problem.
Right, they're cutting because they're paying out too much.
They're probably cutting back on the pay.
Yeah. Here's another question. What is the current status of face masks at your dealership? Is a customer required to wear a mask at the dealership? Currently, no. We don't have a face mask requirement except for our employees who are not vaccinated, which is very few. Most of them are, the vast majority are, but the ones aren't still have to wear a face mask inside. Right now, Palm Beach County has very, very low transmission rate, and it's considered safe in indoor public spaces. We change it if it changes in the future. If there's a surge, then we'll look at it in the future.
You know what I do with a mask? I believe, even if I feel relatively safe, I look at when I wear a mask, I think I make those around me feel safer. If they don't know me and I'm around, I always feel bad. I felt really guilty the other day at Publix. I went in and I wasn't wearing a mask, and a guy who knew me came up and said, he's still wearing a mask, and I felt really bad because I probably made him feel uncomfortable without a mask.
I feel the same way as at Publix. Yeah. I didn't know the person, but every time I walk past somebody with a mask, I wonder if they're thinking the things I was thinking back when I encountered non-maskers.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm not a non-masker. It's okay now.
What's really reassuring is when you see somebody wearing the right mask.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
The
smart
right
person.
mask.
Yeah, not a sock. Another anonymous feedback came in. Hello, when will Earl's second book come out? Will it have an audiobook version? And will there be an audiobook version of Earl's first book? Thank you.
I'm glad you asked me. That gives me a chance to plug my book.
Chapter 8.
I just accidentally, I didn't mean to do this. I have Chapter 8 here, and Chapter 8 is Evil Earl Gets Retired. And there it is right there. And I proofread it. So I've got, we're in the really rough stages. I'd have to say that the book will be available by the end of the year. I always say the end of the year for everything.
Hey.
But I really think so. I'm just having a ball doing this book. It is so much fun. It's more like memoirs, and it's a real book. The other book, Confessions of a Recovering Car Dealer, is more of a how-to-do-it book about how not to get ripped off. This is my life and changes, and includes Nancy and
That's
Stu
a good point.
and my sons, other sons, and people that are close to me, and it's better than having a psychoanalyst. And when I do the book, I dictate it to a guy that's writing the book for me, and we do 2 sessions, typically every Tuesday and Thursday. We go over it, and we talk back and forth, and then when he does a chapter, we go over the chapter. And reliving your past is very therapeutic.
Very
And,
therapeutic.
very
And it's been
humbling.
quite a revelation.
So,
And it's an amazing journey.
The new
to go
title
back.
is Redemption of a Recovering Car Dealer. So we have Confessions of a Recovering Car Dealer, which is available on Amazon, and 100% of the proceeds go to Big Dog Ranch Rescue. Very good.
Thanks, Rick.
Okay,
And
Big
that's
Dog Ranch
great.
Rescue, 100%. You go to Amazon.com and you buy Confessions of a Recovering Car Dealer, and I'm hoping by the end of this year we will have the new book, Redemption of a Recovering Car Dealer. So
This
thanks for asking.
This second book is really going to make a difference. It truly is, and it was good that you pointed out what you did. Your first book, it was sort of a tell, how to do it kind
Yeah.
of a book. But this book, it is just like I said. It's going to be on fire. It's going to be amazing. That walk down memory lane. It can be therapeutic in some ways, but it may require more counseling afterwards.
What about the audio version? They want to know if there's going to be an audio version of this one and your old book.
You know, it's funny because I was talking to John Van Zyl, my ghostwriter, about that, and he said I've got a good radio voice. Well, of course I do, yeah. And he says I should do it, and I said, well, yeah, I just want quality. I said that would really be hard to do, so I'm wrestling with that. I
It's a
mean,
long
hours
project.
and hours and hours to do it. So, I listen to audio. Stu, you got me onto audiobooks, and I'm not reading books anymore. I'm listening to them, and it's much better. I much prefer it. So, but I've heard the difference in quality, and a good audiobook by a good narrator is really important.
There's a guy that I've heard, I can't remember his name, who's narrated a few books. We got to get in touch with him.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know whether, but we'll definitely do an audiobook because I think that's a new trend.
both, yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole new thing.
Maybe I'll record it. I sound a little bit like you.
You do, yeah.
Just,
There you go.
Yeah.
all right, we're all caught up.
Okay.
Rene Aubergenois.
Rene Aubergenois. Who's speaking French over here?
He is the reader for the Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child Pendergast series.
Oh, okay.
And I'll tell you, the man has an incredible voice. I think he'd do it justice.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll look him up.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. We were talking as we were going down memory lane here, and I was telling Jonathan about it before, and Rick. Nancy and I are going to my high school reunion. I really respect Nancy going to a high school reunion because it's got to be terrible for her, but she's got to go meet all these old people that she doesn't know. And but anyway, I'm having my high school reunion tonight for graduating classes 1956, 57, and 58, and I'm giving out copies of my book.
You're going there?
I'm going there. I'm the featured speaker. See, I wouldn't be going, but I'm the featured speaker. I'm pretty close to the last one alive.
What are you going to talk about?
So there, well,
How much you miss everybody?
I don't know what I'm going to talk
Really?
about. I'm going to be there, and it all fits in. But of course, we were talking about COVID before, and I want to be sure that everybody at the table, at the dinner table, had been tested. So they're going to be our table that will all be tested, and then we'll be talking about, the other thing. I'm honored because of very famous people in my graduating class: George Hamilton, Burt Reynolds.
Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
A couple years earlier than you, right?
Who?
Didn't he graduate a year? He's a
Yeah,
year older than you.
56, but it's see there's
It's all together.
Yeah, we're having 56, 57, 58.
You
Yeah,
have enough people show up.
enough people. So
You ask what all your father's going to reveal?
What is he going
Is
to?
that what you asked?
I'm just curious what he's going to talk about. You going to talk
Are
about
you curious
cars,
where
or
I'll be sitting?
You're going to be sitting in the front row.
Oh no, I'll be at the exit. I'll be sitting at the exit.
We have a texter. We have a text.
Hey, I'm going to interrupt your texting because we have 2 phone calls.
Oh, great.
Thank
Ladies
God.
and gentlemen, we are going to introduce Phil from Jupiter and Ron. Hang on. Good morning, Phil.
Yes, I want
Welcome.
to ask a question about. Yes, I got a question about high test gas. I was in a Lexus dealer looking at thinking about getting a hybrid, and on a hybrid they recommend high test gas, and I just couldn't understand it. It's a little 4-cylinder engine they use, and then the other question is why do we use 89 91 octane gas is what everybody recommends it has it, but yet they make 93. So, could you give me a little information about that? I mean, what's the deal with recommending high test gas?
Well, Rick can answer that better than I can, but I want to set it up a little bit by saying sometimes they recommend it and sometimes they require it. And double check your owner's manual or the cap on your gas or wherever they put it, whether it's recommended. If they require it, then that's a lot stronger language. If you recommend it, I say forget about it and try a lower octane. But Rick is the authority.
The only real difference is in the fuel is the octane number, which is actually how fast the gasoline burns. The lower the number, the faster the gasoline will burn. And the reason they have it retarded slightly so that it will not burn as quickly is because in the higher compression engines, low octane gas can actually spontaneously combust right at the moment when it gets to its maximum compression, and that can actually cause two flame fronts in the cylinder, and that's one is fired by the spark plug, the other one is that spontaneous ignition point, and that causes a bang inside, and that is what's known as spark knock. So when the computer detects that spark knock, it will retard the timing of the engine and will reduce the ability of that engine to produce its most efficient power levels, and that causes it not to run as well as it should. So when they recommend using the premium fuel, generally it's best to try to stick with that if you can. If it's required, then you definitely want to use the premium fuel, otherwise it can void your warranty.
Well, let me ask you this, Rick. Why, if they recommend it, what is going to hurt from dropping it down a level and seeing if you get any knock or noise or problems, right? Before, we were telling the customers or the listeners that you can use a lower test as long as it runs smoothly.
Well, and it will run smooth, but the problem, because you won't even notice it, because the computer will pick up those sounds way faster than you'll ever even know it. You won't even hear it.
Okay, but you're saving a whole lot of money, and we realize that it won't be optimum performance, but you're saving a whole lot of money, especially with gas prices through the roof like they are now. I mean, what's the difference between low test and high test today? A buck a gallon?
It's about 40 cents, 30, 40 cents.
All right, 40
it
cents
used
a
to be a
gallon.
lot less, and actually now it's about 50 to 60 cents difference in the three levels. It used to be only like 10 cents per level up.
Yeah.
Now it's more like 50 cents to 60
cents a
cents.
gallon, 20 gallons, that's $10 a tank.
Yep.
And so if you can save $10 a tank, tell me what is going to change my mind about that?
Well, just the effect that it can have on the engine long term.
Okay, what's long term?
Carbon buildup in 50, 60, 70,000 miles could cause issues with the engine later on.
Well, okay.
I mean, I'm just saying, because I can only basically regurgitate what the engineers say about the engine. They design it. They say this is what you should be running in our engines.
Well, okay, then I'm disagreeing with you. So Phil, decide who you want to go with. I think that engineers typically overcompensate, overdesign, and
True.
it's a lot
Very
easier to be sure. So they say, let's tell them to use the premium gas. That way we know there won't ever be any problems and we won't have any repairs under warranty. I say that you're probably going to trade that car in long before you have any problems if you drop it down one octane level and you save yourself a lot of money and then trade the car in, and we'll let the guy that buys it worry about it. That's my
Well, what do they use 89 octane for? I mean, they always offer that 89. I mean, who would use that?
Older cars that don't have all the computerization to it, if you start to detect a spark knock, you can step up to that mid-grade level, and that will reduce that spark knock for you.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that. Okay, well, it kind of shocked me when on a Lexus, on a four-cylinder engine and a Lexus hybrid, a hybrid at that, recommending high test. That kind of blew my mind when I saw
We'll
that.
drop it down, try the lower octane, and if it runs smoothly, you're saving a lot of money and keep on trucking.
Okay, appreciate it.
Thanks, Phil. Give us a call again, 877-960-9960, and you can text us at 772-497-6530. Don't forget we have that mystery shopping report coming up, so stay tuned for that. We're going to go to Summerfield, Florida, where Ron is holding. Good morning, Ron.
Hey, good morning. How are you doing this morning?
We're well, thank you. Thanks for calling Earl on Cars.
Okay. This is a two-part question for Rick. Rick, I've always wondered, and I have a 2012 Highlander, and I still have the step-on emergency brake. Now, I'm kind of an old guy, and so in the old days, you needed an emergency brake just in case the primary brake system failed. So you had the step-on emergency brake, which would bring the car to a stop. So now all the new cars had the little tab, the electronic emergency brake. Does that work in stopping the car if it's in motion? Most people just, I hear it referred to as just the parking brake, but will it brake for us?
Yes, it will. Basically, it uses electronic motors to physically close the calipers on the back wheels, and because parking brakes or emergency brakes are always designed to work the rear wheels, and yes, it will stop that car.
Okay. My second question is, I have a new Highlander on order, a hybrid, and I've vacillated between just getting the two-wheel drive and the all-wheel drive. I know the all-wheel drive gives you a third electric motor in the rear. Does the weight of that motor take away from the mileage potential from the car?
Has very little effect on it, but the biggest advantage that you will have is the all-wheel drive features of that. You get on wet roads. If you travel north in the wintertime, you get on snowy roads, or even say you go down to the Keys and you got a lot of sand that's blown across the road. Any slippery conditions, that all-wheel drive, along with the stability control in those vehicles, you will see a huge difference in the way it handles.
Does it require any additional maintenance?
No, because it's simply an electric motor with two little axles going out to those back wheels. No maintenance changes whatsoever on it.
Okay. I was listening to the previous caller, and I want to just piggyback on something he was asking. Okay, so we buy hybrid vehicles to save gas and to help not pollute the environment. So why would I buy a hybrid car that needs premium fuel? It's kind of counterintuitive, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But again, that's, the engineers decide what they want to do. But bear in mind that hybrids that require a premium are generally more of your upper level cars anyways, where, let's be honest, for a lot of those folks, that extra $20-30 a week in fuel, that's not even pocket change. That's the change that falls out of their pockets down in below behind the back seat.
Yeah, maybe I'm just more of a purist when it comes to trying to save the environment and save money, and I don't want to waste money on premium fuel and buy a hybrid car at the same time. So, it kind of, they do a disservice to those of us who may want to move up to a premium car, but I'm not paying 60 or 80 cents more a gallon
Right.
just for the privilege of driving something fancy.
One of the things to keep in mind, too, is the whole idea of a hybrid car was that they were more of a stepping stone to get people more used to the idea of the higher technology and moving into electric vehicles. It's kind of that thing that you've driven a gasoline vehicle all your life. Now you go into this hybrid vehicle that is halfway an electric car, and suddenly you start feeling the differences. And next thing it's like, oh yeah, I want that electric car for the next one that has full electric with the massive amounts of torque, total silence when you're driving down the road. There's a lot of different advantages to them. Yeah, and hybrids were meant to guide us into the future, really.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That was the questions I had, and so I just wanted to make sure that the all-wheel drive didn't require additional maintenance and that required it to be in the shop more.
No, and as a matter of fact, if you happen to be someone that, say you're pulling a boat, a hybrid Highlander is still one of the best options for pulling a boat that's within the towing range of that vehicle. simply because one of the best features is that instant torque. The moment you step on the accelerator, you've got full torque to all four wheels to pull that boat up a ramp. And if you've ever watched some of the YouTube videos of these guys trying to get their boat up off the ramp, and they hit a little slick spot, and then the next thing you know, that truck is getting a car wash.
Let me jump in here on this fuel economy and a hybrid and so on and so forth. I just pulled up AAA, which is one of our Bibles. We use Consumer Reports, AAA, and AAA says there's no question that higher octane premium fuel has the potential to boost the vehicle's fuel economy and performance. However, engines have to be calibrated to require that to see the full benefit. And they say that they don't think that the boost in performance and fuel economy is worth the difference in cost between the premium and the lower octane. So AAA agrees with me that buy the lower octane fuel. If your car runs okay as far as you can tell, you're saving a ton of money, and you don't want to have to spend the money on the high test.
Yeah, I agree.
Very good.
I agree. Mm-hmm. Well,
Thanks
thank
for
you
the call.
so much. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Ron. We are going to freeze the lines right now because we're going to finish up on our text messages with Stu and YouTubes with Rick, and we're going to get to the mystery shopping report. So we're going to go right to Stu.
Okay. Hey, before we get to those last texts, I looked at this Coons Kia in Maryland who's got fined. I think this is pretty significant. So not only did they get busted for charging bogus fees, not including it in the advertised price of their car. Sounds like they have the same law up there as they do in Florida. But the settlement, they have to pay $1 million, which they're going to return to the consumers, plus $100,000 for the cost of the investigation. And then they have to agree to stop charging fees other than taxes or title fees.
Really?
Right. So that's a precedent. So if I'm in Maryland and I just saw that happening, I'm going to start thinking about my dealer fee. And yeah, who knows? Maybe this is a movement that's getting underway.
Nice.
The problem is just the law enforcement. The feds did it again, right? Not the attorney general.
No, that was the attorney general.
Oh, was the attorney?
Yeah, state attorney general of Maryland.
Oh,
so that's kind of cool.
Do you have the name?
Yeah, attorney general is Frosch. Where's his first name? Attorney General Brian Frosch of Maryland.
Boy, wish we had him in Florida.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully, Ashley's listening. We have a text here from someone who has negative sentiment towards California. He says, you said that California as a trendsetter is going to have 70% of electric vehicles by 2030. However, how is California going to charge all these electric vehicles on their grid when they can barely supply enough power now to not have rolling blackouts? And they have eliminated all their high-power nuclear reactor type of power supply and went to all sorts of non-renewable supply. My answer to that is they're going to have to figure it out. It's going to be a tough one. Hey, but it's always good to set goals. And, you might fall short, but it sets the direction that we're moving in. And that's undeniable because we're moving to an electric future.
I just think how much California's taught us about being safe during earthquakes and fires.
Exactly. Right.
That was a good
I know
point.
what to do if we have an earthquake here.
That was a good point to the text, to what he said.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's a tough one, and there's smart people figuring it out. I think we are caught up with everything except. Nope, that's right. We have something here from Bob on Facebook. Wants to know, Rick, what can you do to clean windshield wipers?
Best thing would be a little bit of Windex or other simple commercial available glass cleaner. Spray it on a paper towel and wipe it up and down the blade to just clean that
Get the
rubber the
crud
best
off?
you can.
So don't put no Vaseline?
No, nope,
Okay.
nope. WD-40.
Don't do any of that.
Didn't Ford just have a huge recall on windshield wipers? I think it was just like hundreds of thousands of Fords.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I'll
something
have to
about
look that up.
Yeah.
By the way, this one in from Kirk in West by God, Virginia. Earl, your first book was outstanding. Looking forward to your second.
Oh, that really makes me feel
Me
good.
too.
Thank you.
Okay.
We're good to go.
Let's get
Okay,
to-
I see by the clock we better get rolling here. Folks, we always call upon you to vote for the Mystery Shopping Report. You're very important to us. You're a huge part of the show, and we appreciate you week in and week out. If I didn't say it earlier, we shopped Napleton Chrysler Dodge Jeep, and you can vote by texting us at 772-497-6530. So take advantage of that. Now back to the recovering car dealer.
Okay, let's do it. Welcome to part 2 of our exclusive Napleton Auto Group expose. To recap, the hammer finally came down on old Ed Napleton. He lives in Palm Beach. Might be listening to the show.
Maybe he'll call in.
When the feds hit him earlier this month, I like that the feds hit him. It's the feds. Oh, good Lord. I tell you.
I feel you, Doug.
Hit him with a $10 million fine for ripping off his customers in general and really ripping off his black customers in particular. Very sad. Federal Trade Commission, along with state authorities, alleged that 8 of Napleton's dealerships were sneaking junk fees. That's their terminology, and we like that. We're going to start using that. Perfect word. Sneaking junk fees and unwanted add-ons, that's also known as dealer-installed accessories, onto their customers' invoices. Napleton also charged their black customers more for the same unwanted, worthless crap, again, allegedly. So they're screwing everybody, but the black people are being screwed even worse, and that was the allegation, and that's the reason he forked up $10 million so we could avoid, what was it, $70 million and rip-off. You could only imagine the excitement we felt when we found out that 2 of those 8 Napleton dealerships were right here in our backyard, down the street from our studios. Napleton's, North Lake Kia, and Napleton Chrysler Jeep Dodge are both on North Lake Boulevard, as it were. We completed part 1 of our expose last week when Agent Lightning shopped Napleton's North Lake Kia. We had no idea what to expect, and we wondered whether they would try to behave themselves given the considerable heat on the Napleton organization. I mean, I can't imagine the pressure. I mean, can you? I mean, my God, if that had happened to us too.
The call I'd get from the
I couldn't sleep. I mean, anyway, you'd think there'd be chaos and panic.
Dad, the feds are here. Can you come down?
The feds. That'd be like
Marshall
bootleggers.
Dillon's here.
If you missed last week's show, here's a spoiler alert. Napleton's North Lake Kia did not behave themselves. They were adding the same unwanted garbage to their cars, junk as it were, that the Federal Trade Commission complaint said they were adding. To rub salt in the wound, Napleton also added $20,000 market adjustment. $20,000 up above the MSRP, and I mean, you just beat the guy down with a $20,000, and then they added an $1,100 dealer fee, adding insult to injury. This week for part 2, Agent Lightning headed across North Lake Boulevard to Napleton's North Lake Kia sister store, right across the street, Napleton Chrysler Dodge Jeep. Here's a report. I speak in the first person as if I am Agent Lightning, a female, by the way. I don't have to do a falsetto.
That would be insulting.
It would, yeah. I arrived in the early afternoon and entered the showroom. The receptionist was busy on the phone, so I wandered around for a few minutes before asking for help. Carl came out to me. First when I read that, I thought it was Earl. That would really be something.
No.
Earl.
Yeah, I'm moonlighting over in Napleton.
Yeah. Carl came out to greet me and asked what I was looking for. I told him I was in the market for an SUV. I said I understood the inventory situation. I was flexible on everything, model, color, you name it. I just hoped he had something in stock. I couldn't wait months for a new car. Carl suggested the Jeep Grand Cherokee, probably because he actually had one in stock. He said it was a new 2022 Jeep Cherokee Altitude. They come up with interesting names, Altitude. And led me outside to see it. It was a big white four-wheel drive SUV with an MSRP of $49,225. I didn't see an addendum. We took a long test drive, And along the way, Carl demonstrated competent familiarity with the features and controls and made easy conversation. Before we pulled back into the dealership, he advised me of the $9,995 market adjustment. I told him I had not seen any markup sticker. He pointed to the windshield. Whoops, there was an addendum label that I'd missed. Now, when we parked, I walked to the sticker to inspect. It listed 3 add-ons. This is the junk, folks. This is the junk. 3 add-ons. Xylon, Lojax, and Napleton Care. The junkiest of the junks, of course, is the Napleton Care, and the rest of it's all junk, too. $2,427 for 3 things that probably cost a couple hundred.
Yeah, I don't know what Lojack costs, but
let's say three.
I think you can sell it for anything you want. So
yeah.
I also know Napleton Care is a year's worth of maintenance for $200, and I don't know what car requires $200 worth of maintenance in the first year.
No. And there was no market adjustment mentioned, so they did not put the market adjustment on the windshield like they told me they did. I mentioned this to Carl, but he assured me there would be one.
I assure you.
Oops. Glad you reminded me. Then he told me not to worry. If I really liked the car, he would work with me. That's the parlance du jour. Hey, we'll work with you.
What if she just...
We'll work with you,
What if
bro.
she just sort of liked the car?
Yeah.
What if I'm just mildly fond of it?
We'll just sort of work with you.
Right.
So we want you happy. We want you happy. We went inside to his desk. Carl asked if I would like to move forward to buy the car. I said yes, but I wasn't about to pay $10,000 over a sticker. He told me again that if I really liked the car, he would make sure that they work with me to get me a great deal. Carl asked me for all my personal information and my driver's license. Then he left to speak with the sales manager about my deal. I waited just 5 minutes, and Carl returned with a worksheet. Now, the thought occurred to me, Nancy and I were talking to the car. She says, how could these people, with all this spotlight of attention and the feds kicking in the door, how could they not behave themselves more? And the thought occurred to me, Agent Lightning goes in and they get her driver's license and they run her through the computer. Why wouldn't they know that she'd been in before?
Because people come back. They don't always buy a car.
Apathy.
Yeah.
It's lack of attention and
usually here's a very common phenomenon.
Stupidity.
When somebody goes to a sales department and they log them the computer, salespeople sometimes will try and take a customer from somebody. So if they see they've been in the computer, they don't always alert the last person.
Good point.
I got a live person. This time I'm going to sell them.
Very good point. I hadn't even thought about that. Carl, blah, blah, blah. I waited 5 minutes and Carl returned with a worksheet. The top line was MSRP $49,225. They had a $9,995 market adjustment.
As promised.
$199 for you know what? Nitrogen. It's in the air we breathe. You're breathing nitrogen, folks. I want you. Do you realize
you owe me
how expensive
$200.
your lungs are right now? Your lungs are probably worth $199. $799 for window tint. Boy, wow. that is
high quality window tint.
I think that's bodacious.
that's you're going back to the 80s with that.
Yeah, but is that the highest price? I think that's.
I've never seen window tint.
$799 for window tint.
Well, the space shuttle's window tint, I think.
I mean, normally it's like $199 or less.
Oh yeah, cost on it is about $120 to the vendor.
Yeah.
So they sell for $150, $160.
$899 for dealer services, hidden fees by any other name. They're all dealer fees. $129 for e-file, and that's another
junk fee,
phony fee to make you think it's a government fee. $149 private tag agency. Boy, this is like a machine gun of fees here, and that's the same thing too. It's all BS. They should just call them all BS fees. And then $199, another BS hidden fee, doc fee, and these are junk fees. And $998 for LoJack, $1230 for Xylon, and finally $199 for Napleton One Car Care Maintenance. I'm exhausted. And this is what the feds accused them of doing to the tune of $70 million, and they're still doing it. The total markup over sticker, MSRP, was $14,796 over sticker. And we said earlier in the show, we feel guilty because we're charging sticker. The out-the-door price was nearly $70,000 for this 40,000. How much was it?
49,000.
49,000. Yeah. I once said that this was not going to work for me. Carl said he could probably take off the nitrogen in the tent.
Right.
I said I didn't want LoJack or Xylon either. He asked if I was sure because both offer great protection products for me and blah, blah, blah. I said no and added that the $9,995 market adjustment has got to come off too. Carl, tears strolling down his cheeks now, said he wanted to sell me this car and asked me if it would work with me if he could get me close to the 60,000 out the door. While he spoke, I found their online advertisement. You hear that? Advertisement? Ashley Moody. Do you hear that? I'm dreaming that she's listening to the show. Ashley, this advertisement was for $47,748. That was the advertised price on this car.
That's less than MSRP.
And that's $1,477 discount from MSRP. And we're at the stage now in the negotiation where he's going to try to get it for me for $60,000. Now, wait a minute. Ashley, listen. Ashley, do you have a pencil? I wrote this down somewhere.
Somebody go get Ashley. Tell her to turn the radio up.
I wrote this down somewhere. I can't see where I wrote it up. Anyway, I'll have to read it off my page here. Florida statute, Title 13, 501.976, paragraph 18. Ashley, did you get that? Florida statute. It's illegal to charge a customer. Oh no, that's wrong. Oh yeah, here it is. I'm sorry, 16, paragraph 16. For what I just said is all the same, but this paragraph 16. The advertised price must include all fees or charges that the customer must pay, including freight or destination charge, dealer prep charge, and charges for undercoating and rust proofing, state and local taxes, tax registration fees, and title fees, unless otherwise required by law. In other words, they broke the law, Ashley, and so they violated the federal statute. So, and I'm only kidding because she hasn't enforced this law on any dealer, and they all do it. The advertised price has to be the price that you pay for the car, and they're violating the law. Okay, now Carl said that the price was a Kelley Blue Book suggestion. It wasn't Napleton's advertised price. I challenged him and showed him my phone again, and right there it says $47,748 was their advertised price. He excused himself, presumably to ask his manager. You know, Carl might not have known. Maybe his manager told him. I don't know. At any rate, same thing. Manager wrote on his card, gave it to him to show to me. I'm shopper. I'm the shopper. 60,000 OTD out the door. So they're still trying to sell it to me for thousands and thousands of dollars over the advertised price. I laughed, said I'm not doing business based on chicken scratch on a business card. Earl tried to assure me they would honor the internet price. I said I need to see everything in writing now so I can be sure everything adds up. Oh, I see where I wrote this. I couldn't find it before. Actually, Title 13, Regulation of Trade, Commerce, Investments, and Solicitations, 501.976, Actionable Unfair or Deceptive Acts or Practices, paragraph 16. That's the law they broke. And you lawyers out there, check me on that. If I made a mistake, Napleton's lawyers, if I made a mistake, give me a call. Carl promised I would get all of that once I was in finance. That's also known as a box. I told him I was fine with not getting this car now and stood up to leave. Carl stood up too, asked for a minute to see if he could get me another printout. Came back a new worksheet. This time the market adjustment was just $49.95, $4,995. He took off the Xylon and the Napleton Care. Everything else was added. This time the premium over MSRP was $7,369. So there we have it. The second Napleton shop after the feds kicked in their door, was it about a month ago? It's been on Channel 12 locally, and it's been all over the press. And here we are. Voting time, I guess.
I don't know how else we can vote. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a repeat of last week's performance by Napleton.
Yeah.
Word for word.
Well, we have some grades coming in from Mark. Mark gives him a flat F minus. Thievery, he says. Bob says it would have been a C, but the market adjustment window says F on it. I like that. We have an addendum. Congratulations, you got an A, but we have an addendum that says it's really an F. Let's see, anybody on Facebook? I'm gonna stick with the F. I got to be consistent. Napleton's Northlake Kia, Napleton's Chrysler Jeep Dodge, both get Fs from me.
Well, I've got Kirk in West by God, Virginia. Napleton, the 666 of car dealers. I'm working with them, and they earned a solid F minus. Mark Anderson, Mark from St. Louis. A for Earl and Burt Reynolds going to the same high school. F for Napleton, keeping the scam going. Tom Steckel, they're consistent. 10 million Fs. Wayne Veit, market adjustment, F. Ernesto, F. Tim, what? No fee for listing all the fees? My market adjustment is an F minus. Brian, how does this dealership stay in business? Work with me, haha, F. Mark Smith, F. Cram, 1624. Gotta charge those fees so I can pay those fines. F.
We have Vincent on Facebook, gives him a huge F.
And that's an F for me, folks.
Yeah, I just, with that kind of performance, we almost want to have another letter. I think somebody said that last week, a G or an H. I mean, F doesn't seem to do it justice. Mrs. Sunrise?
Well, I don't feel like Mrs. Sunrise right now. Do these people think that they're incapable of being conquered?
Hubris.
I use the word loosely. Or maybe overcome or subdued in everything that they're doing. I mean, how could they get away from this? Someone asked about customers coming into their dealership. That's just amazing that they can still be selling cars. Where is everyone? Is anyone reading the newspaper? Is anybody watching TV? It's for your own protection, but he's got his followers, I suppose. I give him an F.
Yeah, I obviously I've got to give him an F. I wonder the brashness and the here we have so many regulars out there. We know that a lot of people are listening to this show that are in positions of power. We probably have legislators, Florida legislators. There's got to be people on Ashley Moody's staff. I'm not going to flatter myself to the point where I think she'd listen to our show, but there are a lot of people that know her that listen to the show. She's got to be hearing about it. The blog that we put out on open letter to Ashley Moody, I told Stu last week, I said, when this blog goes out, there's something called in advertising called geofencing, where we put the blog in Tallahassee.
I did, and also in every major metro car market. So I did South Florida, Southwest, Tampa, Jacksonville.
So people in Tallahassee, which is our state capital, which is we have all of the legislators, a lot of the regulators, a lot of attorneys, a lot of lobbyists. I mean, the whole the legal heart of Florida is in Tallahassee, and open letter to Ashley Moody was targeted, geofenced, targeted thousands of exposures in Tallahassee, our state capital. So everybody's read the letter. So either sue me or do something about this. I mean, just don't pretend like it didn't happen. I mean, it's just like if a tree falls in the forest and there's no one there to hear it, kind of a thing. There's a whole bunch of people in the forest in Tallahassee, and you all heard it. And call the show. As I said, file legal action against Earl on Cars and me. Do something. I mean, this silence is very depressing. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe next week the week after, and the local media too. I mean, we did have, we didn't know it was in the Palm Beach Post. It was in the Palm Beach Post. Someone told us. Well, I haven't seen the article, but it was on Channel 12, WPEC. So we salute WPEC. But what about WPTV? What about what's the other WPBR? What about you got Channel 10 in Miami? I mean, there are a lot of big stations out there, and there's NBC. I mean, there's networks. Why don't you go out? You know who does a good job on this is CNBC, the finance channel. They talk openly about car dealers screwing customers, and but you don't ever hear it on CNN or MSNBC or Fox or all the other networks. People are just kind of ignoring this issue. I just don't know why.
Yeah.
I guess it must be.
It's almost like as if you didn't write a column. It's almost like as if that they, Naples didn't do anything wrong. It's almost like as if that...
like we didn't have a radio show.
The column that you asked Stu about and what he, how far the reach was for that, it never happened.
Well, I got bad news. It didn't happen. It shut down. Facebook shut down the ad because it is a sensitive topic containing social issues, electoral politics. Requires us to get authorized first by confirming. So I'll try and go through a review with Facebook. But we have to identify who's paying for it and a disclaimer because that's how Facebook handles anything political now.
Wow.
Well, it got to about 1,000 people before they shut it down.
Well,
so we'll request the review.
Let's go through the review.
Yeah.
I would be interested. That would be an issue. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg is one of my heroes. I like the guy, and I would think that, I know he takes a lot of heat from almost everybody, but I'd like to see what their Facebook review would do.
They're reviewing it now.
Yeah.
We'll find out in 24 hours or 48 hours.
Oh, okay.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
This is like a clip out of Startup
This is like
with the fake
This
news.
is happening on live radio right now.
Yeah,
This is a
the
learning
silence
experience.
is deafening, and it brings so much attention to the subject.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, continue to stay with us week in and week out. We really need your support. We, again, you're a big part of the show. We'll be right back here next Saturday morning, 8 a.m.